Hi friends, good morning. It's Terry Stewart, independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator located in the U.S. in Central Maryland. I am so excited to be here for this February 2023 Woohoo Weekend. I have a really cute project that I'm happy to share with you, looking forward to sharing with you. So I'm going to turn the camera around, and if you get sick, look away because the camera is moving. Here we go. And you're going to see my ceiling, my big light, my big head, and then I'm going to turn the camera around and you'll see the Seaside Bay. Okay, let me pull this down a little bit. Ooh. I did a test run on this earlier and I had things pretty well centered, but I guess things change. Alright, so there you go. Seaside Bay. It's one of my favorites from the new mini, which runs from, it started in January. Now it goes through April. And I bought this set. I wanted it because I live in Maryland and we're close to the Chesapeake Bay, which, did you know, is the largest estuary in the world? Yes, it is. So anyway, we have the famous Maryland blue crabs, and this crab image is what drew me to this set, but I am loving everything else about that. I love this pearl one, the birds, these little seashells and sand, these little tiny birds. We got an oyster, a mussel, and another shell. There's a pearl down here. It's just, I love this. And great sentiments. Sympathy card, thank you card, and then you are a pearl, rare and precious, and I'm going to be using that today. And there's coordinating dies that go with these images. So some of them cut directly, like the crab and the shell, you can cut directly, but then there's other images like this fan shell that both cuts and embosses a decorative design, as well as this one down here, more up here. There's some like seagrasses. So there's other images besides the stamped images that you can die cut. Super cool, right? Yeah. So let me show you my project. Good morning, who is ever out there watching me. So this is a Funfold. It's a pocket card. You can pull this tag up, and there are the images, as I said. So I'll be using the sentiment, you are a pearl, rare and precious, the thank you for everything, the clamshell, and then these decorative shells and sand. So those are the image we're using. And you'll notice that this paper, and can you see that it has some iridescence in it? So the paper that goes with this bundle is the By the Bay, and it has those foiling elements like these fish, gold foiled, and then the other side has iridescent elements to it. It's just beautiful. So you have both nautical images, crabs and birds and shells, and then you have the other side that is iridescent. And here's just like a watercolor wash, and then some lumber, weathered lumber, and then more gold foiling. It's just beautiful paper, beautiful. So one side has some kind of iridescent element, and then the other side is usually like watercolor images. Gold. Anyway, I love it. You can tell I love it. I could talk about that all day long. But we need to get started on this project. So let me put my card here, set my stamp set aside, and bring in the pieces I'll be using. So I have a scrap of white and a scrap of Sierra sand because we're going to do some die cutting. I have a piece of that DSP cut at 1.5 by 4 1/4. and another piece at 4 1/4 by 4 1/2, and then the metric 3.8 by 10.5 centimeters and 10.5 by 12.9 centimeters, a piece of Sierra sand 2 5/8 by 5 inches or 6.7 by 13.9 centimeters, 2 1/2 inches by 4 7/8 or 6.4 by 13.6 centimeters, another little piece of white, very tiny piece, 3/4 of an inch by 2 1/4 inch or 1.9 by 5.7. And then the card base is a 1/4 sheet of cardstock, 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches or 10 1/2 by 14.9 centimeters. Now I'll post all the measurements in once I'm done here, so you can go back and recreate this card. Now for my tag, I use this little round safety. Let me see if I can find where I put it. Okay, anyway, that comes from this tags, tailored made tags, and I use this die here in the center to cut those. And those, I put one on each side just to reinforce. Well, I'll show you how I did that and why I did that. But anyway, tailored made tags for these little reinforcers. So, okay, let's get started with some stamping, right? That's what we're here for. And I love to stamp. So, I am going to stamp on my scrap piece of white. I'm going to stamp on this white. This is the liner for the tag. And this little tiny piece, little piece of white cardstock. So, put these other pieces away because we're not going to stamp on them. So the ink I'm using, well, first let's start with the Night of Navy. Yeah, let's start with Night of Navy, and I'm going to stamp on my scrap piece of white the oyster, clamshell. Where do you get pearls from, right? Oysters, right? Clams? I don't know. I don't have pearls in this part of the world, so I'm thinking it's a clamshell. So we're going to stamp that. Now so it's a beautiful image, but we can make it even more beautiful by bringing in our blender pen. So this is clear. When you feel like that, it's clear. But it blends the ink, especially one like this that has a lot of detail. You know, there's a lot of ink lines. So if I just go over, it kind of wakes up that ink and it moves it around. Now I'm going to do the shell only. I'm going to avoid doing the pearl, and it's going to really make that pearl image, give it a pop of color. It's going to look very much more like a pearl. So there, and then once you do that, you can take scrap paper and just scribble until it's clear, and now you can use your pen again. So that is one thing we're going to stamp. The next thing we're going to stamp is this little piece of white, and I'm going to stamp the thank you for everything. And for that, I'm using the Early Espresso. I'll just ink this up. It's a little bit darker, but it wasn't as dark as the Memento, and that's why I went with that. So kind of sticking in the beachy colors, and just give it time for the ink to transfer. It's a little crooked, a little wonky, but okay, I'll try it again. Let's see. And then we can see which one is less wonky, right? Go up a little bit. Let's cross our fingers, hope for the best, right? It's hard when you can't get your head over it. It's about the same, isn't it? Let's see, which one? Which one? Okay, we'll go with that one. A little bit. And then for our tag, I'm going to use the sentiment, "You are a pearl, rare and precious." And I'm going to put that right down the middle. And that'll give me room to write a personalized message. Okay, and the next part, the last bit of stamping, soft suede. And for this tag, I did all across the bottom. And I thought about putting it to the side, but I think I'm going to do the same. So I'm bringing the stamp image, kind of like, looks like sand and shells. At least that's what it appears to me. And right across the bottom, give a couple seconds to transfer, and then we have it. Good morning, Shirley. Glad you could join me this morning. Okay, and so now is the time. Let's see if I can reach over here. That I'm going to go to my cut and emboss machine. So I would take this little enforcer from the TaylorMade tags and my scrap of Sahara sand, and I would take the clamshell. What did we decide? It's a clamshell. Oh, where I've lost. Okay, there it is. I set aside my Seaside Bay, and we would do the clamshell there. So I would go off and do some die cutting. I would lay this across here, lay this there, and go off to my die machine. Now I have pre-done that, so, and there's my little reinforcers, and there's my clam shell. So now we can get back to putting this card together. So there's my die cuts. Now I do want to make a tag out of this piece, and if I take my pencil, and I'm going to use my grid paper, and I'm going to go 2 blocks up and 2 blocks over. So whether you're using the metric grid or the imperial like I am, I'm just going to mark 2 up and 2 over, 2 blocks. And I'm going to do the same for this side, 2 up and 2 over, 2 down, 2. So there's my marks for that, and the same for my Sahara sand. I'm going to mark 2 down and 2 over, and take this side and mark 2 over and 2 down. And then, let's see, I'll bring my paper trimmer in and lay those marks on the cutting track right here. So, like that. And then just cut between those marks, and that will give you a corner edged tag edge on your paper. So let's see, that looks about right. And maybe you should do this before you stamp, but I'm going to use an eraser on that. So there we go. So all the corners, and now this will layer like that. Oh, I seem to have, oh, yeah, that's just perfect. Okay, and that is all the cutting. I'm going to trim her away and bring in my eraser so I can erase these marks. So if you just make late, I hope the camera's not jiggling. A little bit, okay, sorry, my bad, sorry. We'll be over soon. Alright, so that is all. And now we can adhere this. So let me bring in my liquid glue, and we'll start assembling. I think we have all our pieces. Everything's cut and die cut, and we're ready to assemble. So, there we go. There's the glue finally. Okay, going around down the center, and then okay. Trying to figure out which side I most like, but I think this is going to work out. And it has a very narrow border. Okay. Now, for this hole here, I actually used my take your pick and my mat. So I kind of was gauging where the center would be. And you can use your pencil for that. So, let's see, it's right about there is the center. It's gonna come down, and I want that hole right about there. So I'm just eyeballing this. And with my paper mat, piercing mat, and my pick your tool with the poked end, I'm just gonna put this through, pierce that through. And I'm going to go all the way through. I'm just kind of turning this up to its, there we go, like that. So it looks fine on this edge, but this one's kind of, you can see it's poked out. I'm going to take my finger and just pull that back. And we're going to cover that with the reinforcer that I cut from the tailored made tags. So let me bring, where did they go? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Where did they go? Does somebody see them on my desk? On my workspace? What did I do with them? I thought I just had them. Oh no. Oh, help me out. Does anybody see where they went? I have misplaced them. This is awful. They were just here, right? I just showed them to you. Oh, not there. Tailor-made tags, not there. Okay. Did they fall off the edge? No, they did not fall off the edge. Anybody see where they went? I thought they were up here in this corner with the other die cut. This is terrible. Anyway, okay, I am at a loss as to where, there were two of them, right? I'm not crazy. I'm not crazy. All right. Well, if I had my little reinforcers, I would put one on the back and one on the front. But somehow or another, they have gone astray right here in my craft. I'm sure everybody has had this problem, right? I'm not the only one who continuously misplaces things on their craft space, right? Okay, well, we'll just push on because I don't know what else to do. So we can start with, we'll put this aside and put this aside, and maybe somebody will tell me where my reinforcers wandered off to. That is like so crazy. Oh, wait. I found them. They're on the floor. They, I guess, went with the paper trimmer. So there they are. Let's get them glued down before any further mishaps occur. So I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive on these. I can get my adhesive out. Man, what a day, right? It's too early to be having all this problems. And just put that right over the hole on the front, and then turn it over and push that down. And then we'll put the reinforcer around that to kind of cover that mess from the reverse side. Okay. Push that. That's a little bit of glue. Okay. And I think that is good. Push that up. That's a good thing about using liquid glue. It's a little bit forgiving, and you can move it around. Okay, let's put that aside. Whew, that was nerve-wracking. And let's do the rest of the assembly. So we're using our card base and our DSP, and my DSP is going to cover that, and I'm only putting it down the right, down the left side, down the right, and across the bottom on the reverse side of my DSP. So I have my pattern, and I'm just going to put a thin bead, and this will keep the pocket, well, this will create the pocket for our tag. And then just line up the edges, so. Okay, so now we have that pocket. So, and then this piece of DSP, those oysters on the reverse side. So we're going to adhere this right at the top. So it's gonna, the edge of the DSP. So the DSP is on top of the DSP. Here we go. And kind of run your finger along across the top to make sure that it's even. And now we can dry fit our sentiment and our clam with the pearl in it. And the sentiment's going to be adhered flat, and this we're going to put, this die cut, we're going to put some dimensionals behind. And I love dimensionals, and I'm going to cut this edge off. I use all the pieces of my dimensionals like that. So that's how that is going to work. So I like that layout. So let me bring in my glue, and there, you know, you can always use the back side. It's a second chance if you stamp a little wonky, and that definitely was wonky, and it continues to be wonky, but it's not so wonky I'm not going to use it, because I'm probably the only one who will notice that it's wonky. That's the thing I find with handmade cards. You see the slight imperfections, and other people only see the beauty of what you've made. They don't see those what you would call an imperfection. So there, so our card front is done. Now for the tag, I'm going to use some linen thread, and I know I need about 12 inches, or for my metric friends, I measured it out, and I believe you guys would use 31 centimeters. So it's a little curly coming off of here, so I'm going to use my grid paper and measure off 12 inches, which is about there, and that would be, like I said, 31 centimeters. So I'm just going to run my nail over it to try to straighten it out a little bit so it's not so curly. And then I'm going to fold it in half, and then fold it in half again. So I've really made a short little piece here. And I'm going to put this through this hole that I created with my Pick-a tool. And if you can't feed it through, you can bring your Pick-a tool back and kind of force it through the hole, kind of mush it through, or feed it through, so you can grasp some on the other side of it. There we go, like that. And then I'm going to bring it through the back, through that loop. Make sure you get all the loop. And there we go. And now it will fit right into the pocket, like so. Actually, let's see if I can get it down further into the pocket. Well, I guess that's all the further it's going to go. And then I can trim off these, the top. All right, so, oh, one last thing is I forgot these flat adhesive back pearls as part of the suite, and they're so iridescent. Aren't they beautiful? I'm going to bring my tool in. I'm going to pick up one of these large ones, and I'm going to put it right there in the center of that pearl. So oh, that one jumped away, huh? Oh, what happened to the... Has a little bit of sticky left. Okay. So, oh, they're all sliding off. This is not good. Okay, I have to deal with this later. Let me just set that aside. Okay. So, there is our card. My pocket card. Oh, this one has a little of those. There we go. And I wanted to show you in the catalog where all this came from. Little catalog tour. Very quick. From the mini catalog. This is on page 23. It's by the Bay suite. And the suite comes with the Seaside Bay bundle, which is the stamp set and dies. It comes with the pearls, the ribbon, and that beautiful By the Bay DSP. And it's a celebration, so if you buy the bundle will qualify you for an item out of the celebration catalog. So thank you for joining me today on the Woohoo Weekend. I will be back shortly with another project. If you have any questions or want to place an order, get with the demonstrator who invited you to this group. And until next time, remember, stamping is fun. Bye!